stand. Find the position that you are comfortable to work in standing. So bring those feet to hip width apart and let rock backwards and forwards through them. I'm going to really explore the base of support. So find your length before we start that, growing tall through the crown of your head. And we'll scan our way down the body towards the base where we're going to be working. So lengthening the back of your neck, gently tucking your chin in, letting your shoulders settle away from your ears. You can just shrug them up and allow them to drop all the way back down again. To feel those two sort of extremes of movement, that elevation and then letting it go. All the tension from the shoulders, slide your shoulder blades into your pockets. One more. And as you let them go, and they've slid right down, think about them opening through their fronts as well. The shoulder blades are sort of diagonally, as if they're doing movement diagonally across into opposite pockets. Okay, now a gentle tuck on your tailbone to lengthen your low back. Think about engaging your centre by just drawing gently up through your pelvic floor. We'll take a couple more breaths, just trying to maintain that as you take the breath out into your side ribs. So breathing it in up your nose and allowing the breath out your mouth. Make sure your knees stay soft. So if you want to, as we start taking those circles around the ankles, you can take your arms out to the side. If you've got your weights in it, obviously it's going to challenge you more, because as you come around, you're going to take more weight outside of your centre of gravity, making your centre work harder to control the movement. If the shoulders get tired, if you start feeling tension in your neck, just put your arms back down again, have a rest. But we're circling around the ankle joints. So exploring the soles of the feet, taking the weight forward towards the toes, taking it around to the side borders, back to the heels, and then to the other side borders. Every now and again, change direction. Think about it being your ankles at this point circling around. So quite small circles, getting used to it. So the arms can be out as long as you can keep your shoulder tops away from your ears. Good. Start making the circles a bit bigger. Think now that your knees are doing those circles, but you still keep the hips on top of the knees, so that you look after your knee joints and you take the whole body weight outside of that centre of gravity a little bit further. Reversing the circles every now and again. Now it's the pelvis drawing the circles. Make sure the ribcage stays on top of your pelvis. Circles are a little bit bigger, head on your shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, and ribs still over that pelvis. Good. Now we'll try and take the circles a little bit bigger. Your shoulders are drawing the circles. All the way back into the heels, forward into the toes. The feet stay in contact with the mat there, we're not coming on to tiptoes. Rest your arms if you need to, of course. Last reverse of direction. And we'll finish up coming back to the centre. Lovely. We're going to take it into our extensions through the upper back, our thoracic extensions. So thinking about trying to elevate that centre of chest up towards the ceiling. You can look at where it's going. If you want to bring the arms in as well, we'll start with them at shoulder height. So have a breath. As you let that breath out, open up and send the centre of the chest to the ceiling. Good. And then back to shoulder height. So we're really going to focus on keeping that tailbone magneting down to the mat while you send the centre of the chest up to the ceiling. Feeling for some extension, for some length in your upper back, that area between the shoulder blades, and opening up the front of the chest. Go stretching into the shoulders, into the pecs. We'll do a couple more. And what we're going to add to this is some balance in a moment. So after this one, just give your arms a rest down. Okay, and we'll take it to transferring the weight across to float one leg up and then back down. So you want your feet to be hip width. If they're too wide, you're not going to manage this, so keep them underneath your hips, alternating, transferring the weight and floating either just onto the toes if the balance is too much, or allowing that leg to float up. And when you've got that leg movement, good, out breath as you lift, control through your center, length through the whole spine. Then you can add those arms back in, so they start at shoulder height and will float up as the leg floats up. Good, and then down. Stay strong on that standing hip, make sure it doesn't sit out like that. It's to really support you with your glutes switched on there. And it's not just an arm lift, we're looking for that center of chest to elevate towards the ceiling, if at all possible. You can keep looking forward, look towards something that's not moving for your balance. Or if you want to, you can start looking slightly up towards the ceiling to encourage that movement up with the center of your chest. It doesn't send you off balance. Last one here. And then lower. Good. All right, and we'll bring it into some squats now. So starting to work into our glutes and our quads. I'll come sideways, just go where you've got space. And with the feet staying hip width apart for these squats. We're going to make sure there's still a little space underneath the arches of the feet. Make sure as you bend down, your knees go straight down over your toes and don't roll in, and then push back up. So slightly stick your bum out behind you, tailbone goes out behind you. You have a small curve in your low back. You support that by trying to engage through your center. Good, and if you're using the weights in your hands, you feel that extra workload. Just keep repeating, come down nice and low. Feel the stretch in your calves. Keep the weight back into your heels, so when you power back up, you should really feel it into your bottom. Get those glutes firing up. Out breath down. Sorry, in breath down, so you can out breath your way back up. Keep those shoulder blades still sliding down into your pockets. Don't let the shoulders creep up to your ears. And your chin is just gently tucked back. So you look towards the front of your mat. Last couple. And then we'll have a bit of a break from these squats. Good. We will come back to them, but for now we'll just do some spine twists. So here you might want to take your legs a little bit wider so that you can bend into the knees. Keep this pelvis nicely pointing straight forward so that we can work into the upper back. You don't need the weights. You can put your arms across your chest if they've had enough of being elevated, or your fingertips to your temples. Keep the tailbone gently tucked under. Pelvic floor is engaged. We're going to move on the out breath. Around. Upper body twisting. Lower body staying really lovely and still. Breathe in the twist. So you're breathing out as you move. Take it to the opposite direction. Breathe in the twist. So to keep those hip bones pointing straight forward, you can slightly push forward through the hip you're twisting towards to make sure it doesn't come back with you. One more. And then rest. Great. So the next thing we'll do is to take it back to the squat. Weights, if you want to use them, as we're going to come into hundreds arms in a squat position. So it's a sustained squat position, and we're going to use the arms to do hundreds to really strengthen the back of the shoulder girdle and down the backs of the arms. So when you're ready, come back down into that deep squat position. Now focus on the shoulders. Open their fronts and lift your arms back from the shoulders. And here's where we're going to work. Pressing back from the shoulders. Repeatedly lifting those straight arms back from the shoulders. So before you start trying to add any progressions, just check in with your position. Make sure you've got length through the back of your neck, so you're looking at the floor, not in front of you. Make sure that you're supporting that small curve in your spine by just gently drawing up through your pelvic floor, so your low tummy should feel like it's working. Your knees are straight down over your toes, and you've got little spaces under the arches of your feet. And then if you want to press it, you can transfer your weight more onto one foot, so that you're on tiptoes on the other foot. Even lifting it off into a one leg balance if you want to, but keep those arms pulsing. Keep pressing back, lifting through the backs of the arms, the triceps are really working. And make sure you have the bell on the other foot if you're going to do that. There's a progression there. Transferring the weight, feeling lots of work into the glutes because the weight's in the heel of the standing foot. Lifting up if you can. Keep pressing, keep pressing, keep pressing. Keep a check of your position. Let's keep going for a few more. Good. Last few, I'll count you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. You should feel that all the way down the backs of your arms and elsewhere, I'm sure. Okay. Give those arms a little bit of a rest. But as we come up onto tiptoes, if you want to, bring them up overhead will give them a nice stretch. So you can do that and control lower them down. As we're just simply rising with control and lowering with control. Adding the arms if you want to. It gives them a lovely stretch, but you don't have to keep adding the arms with every leg movement. Remember to try and keep the shoulder tops down until the arms are getting really high. First bit of movement all comes from the shoulders before they start elevating here. Lovely. All right, and we'll change it slightly from here into our walking pattern. So we'll come onto tiptoes, find steadiness in a balance. That's it, and then lower one heel at a time. You come back to tiptoes, so both heels are elevated, and then you lower one. Bending into the hip and knee on the other side to make sure that the pelvis stays level, shoulders stay level, still lovely and open, away from your ears. We'll add the arms if you want to. Try lifting through the opposite arm to the knee that bends. Good, if you want to take it quicker, you can, as long as you can just maintain that same motion, that same form through the body, the control over the pelvis going straight up and down. Nice and quick if you want to get warm. Maybe feeling it in those calf muscles now. Last couple, slowing it down as you do. finish on tiptoes if you can, then lower down. Okay, let's take it now to our one leg balance again. Like we did before, we won't add the arms this time, so if you want to put those balls down, if that would help, just pop them down. The weights, if you're using them. Take the weight across onto one foot. Make sure you switch on through the glutes, soften the knee, so this one can float up. I'm going to float it up until the knee comes to hip height. And then take it back down. Okay, transferring across, strong, soft, float up. And again, if that is too much of a balance challenge, don't forget that you can just transfer and come up onto tiptoes. Transfer and tiptoes. What we're working towards is that one leg balance so that we can practice some one leg squats. When we come to them, don't worry about making the movement really big with your squats. Work within a range that you can control the knee so that it doesn't wobble in and out. That you feel really strong through it. Because the range can come in time. So when you're ready, take it to the one leg balance and try and stay there. Either resting the toes down or with it elevated like this. And we're going to lower down. So bending through that knee, stretching into the calf, it needs it. Keeping the shoulders nice and open, push back up. And then change sides. So if you'd rather, you can stay on the one side and do some repetitions. So you could maybe try 4 or 5 with a bend and push up. So that you really get a feel for that side that you're working on. And improve the control as you keep practicing. But then when it fatigues, take it back to the other side. Good, use your center. Lovely. Try and make sure that you've done about the same to both sides. And then have a rest. And we'll take it to our last standing exercise. We'll do some scooter. So if you have been using weights and you want to, you can put them into your hands again. Our scooter, we're going to come down into that same squat forward fold position again. So check in with all of that, all the pointers there. Either leave your hands just resting on your pelvis and your hips, or you can have them alongside if you're going to add them. So transfer your weight onto one foot. We're looking at stepping or sliding back with the other foot and back in. So either steps, or if you've got a slippery enough mat and you want to slide and slide the leg back, keeping the toes in contact. We're looking to work through the glute to get that hip back. And obviously the glute and the quads on the standing side are working really hard. Bring the arms in if you want to. Strengthen the back of the body and that standing leg strength in balance. You're going for a couple more. And then have a rest so that you can switch sides. Okay, when you're ready, come back down. Work into the other side, so transfer your weight to the other foot. Slide away, or step away. Last 3. And come on back up. Nice. Okay, we can come down to the mat. Right, and we'll start in 4-point kneel. Nice sort of recovery exercise here. Take a time, take a moment, find a good position. And then I'll come back to that upper body work. So with the shoulders right over the hands, length through the back of the neck, neutral spine through that low back. Just work on dipping the center of your chest towards the mat. So sinking down the breastbone towards the mat and then draw it away. So you imagine that you're trying to get the center of your breastbone away from the flame underneath it and then sink towards it. Try and maintain neutral spine through your low back. It's not a cat and cow. We're really focusing on upper back movement. The sliding of the shoulder blades around the upper back. With the elbows staying straight and soft. Try a couple more. And then finish in a position. So if you want to use weights for your swimming, you can. We're going to do swimming 4, which is in 4-point kneel here. And we'll start with the arms. Just a couple of breaths to get those arms going. Out, breath out. In, breath back. Stillness through the whole rest of the body. Okay, rest the arms. Don't forget if the wrists are getting sore that you can put your hands onto the fists instead of palms. It's up to you. And we'll take it to the legs. Slide out behind or lift out behind as long as you can keep your pelvis nice and level. So you don't lift up through the pelvis on that hip that you're extending through. Try and keep it down, level with the other one. You could imagine a tea tray across the back of your pelvis, with all your finest chinaware. Good, let's start adding the arms with the legs. So we're going to take one arm, opposite leg. Keep looking down at the mat, keep the back of the neck nice and long. Out, breath out. In, breath back. Last couple. And rest. And have a sit back just for now to give your wrists a stretch. We're not quite done here. But if your wrists really have done enough, I'll give you an alternative to the next exercise because we're going to do some plank reps. So give your wrists a circle around and a little stretch. And then we'll do the plank reps. But if you feel like you need to come down on your forearms instead, I'll show you that option. So plank reps 1, we've got the toes tucked under in our box shape position. Remember to get your shoulder blades sliding down your back again, back of the neck nice and long. Have your breath in and engage your pelvic floor. So when you out breath your knees to hover, you get lovely low tummy core engagement. Breathe in. And then lower. Out breath those knees to hover. Breathe in with the pelvic floor engaged, the ribs open to their sides, and then lower. Okay. Keep going, or if you wanted that option to come down onto your forearms, length through the whole spine, shoulders away from your ears, and you can lift the pelvis up off the mat. So you're resting on forearms and your lower legs. So coming into a forearm plank. Good. The progression for what you're doing there, if you wanted instead, take the hands forward of your shoulders. Okay, nice big space in the shoulders where the hips are still starting over the knees. Have your breath in, engage your pelvic floor, out breath to hover and slide into a full plank. Breathe in. Good, if you were on your forearms, this is the final option, your last couple of reps. If you were on your forearms, you can tuck your toes under and lift your whole pelvis up for a full forearm plank. Make this the last one you do. And rest. Good. Okay, we're going to come all the way down. We're on our tummies already, so come all the way down. Give yourself some head support. Use your weights if you want to. So we're doing breaststroke prep now. So arms alongside the body. Find that length. Legs come in so they're no wider than hip width. Your tailbone gently tucks. Let your shoulders just fall forward. Have a breath in. And as you breathe out, open them up and lift the arms. Shoulder blades heading into your pockets again. And then rest. So have a level 1 breaststroke prep here. Getting used to just working with the shoulders to start with. And then you can start adding to it. Start adding that forehead hover. And lower. If you're adding the forehead hover, just make sure that it's your upper back extending. You don't lift your head to get it off the block. You try and keep your glutes soft so that you're not lifting your legs off the mat or overarching your low back either. Good, last one. And then rest. And we'll carry on with upper back extension because we're going to come to swan dive. So you don't need your head support if you want to rest your head on your hands, or if you want to keep your head supported, just put your arms framing your head. Whichever is more comfortable. Re-lengthen. Get that tailbone working towards the wall behind you. Crown of the head's just continuing to point straight to the wall in front. And we're going to have a breath in to prepare. Out breath to lift the forehead up off the hands. So extend your upper back as much as you can, keeping the neck long and the low back long. Breathing while you hold. And then lower. Good. If you want to try and progress it, you can try hovering those arms off the mat as well. Make sure again, it's your upper back extending. You might not come as high. You need to keep it isolated to strength through the upper back. Strength and extension range. Holding while you breathe in. And then lower again. Try and keep the glutes soft. Try and keep the legs heavy. Resting on your mat. One more. And rest all the way down. Good. We'll bring it into side lying. Have a turn over. So we can do some clam. We'll break our clam up. So we get to do 2 sets, but we'll break it up with some cycling hip circles in between sets. Just take a moment aligning now you're on your side. Your shoulders, your hips, your heels. Making sure that top hip is slightly angled forward towards the mat in front of you. So that points straight up at the ceiling, doesn't roll back. Okay, lengthen through both sides of the waist. Check you've got that little space or imagination of a space underneath your lower waist. Okay, we're ready to go. Level 1, the heels stay down. Level 2, lift them up, keep them together. Out breath the top knee. In breath back down. Always keeping that top hip forward. So the knee comes up and back, using the glute right back there in the back pocket area. The top shoulder is open, away from your ear. Trying not to use your hand if you can manage without. Last 2 for this set. And like I said, we'll come back to it. Rest that leg down. All right, and we'll stay in our same position, but this time lifting the whole leg up. So it comes up to being parallel with your lower leg. And we'll work from there. Hinging forward from the hip, opening to straighten the leg, and then pulling that straight leg back. Good, allow it to bend and come forward. Straight, slide it like you're sliding across a coffee table. You're opening up, stretching the front of the hip, and then bend and come forward. So we're really looking for the glute to just fire up in that extension there, but also a big stretch in the quads when you bend the knee to come forward. So careful that that doesn't pull your back out of alignment here if you're tight in your quads. Really try and maintain consistency through your low back position. Let's keep going for a couple more. Making this the last. And then rest it down. And for our second set of clam, we'll add the variation. So again, you can leave your ankles down on the mat if you want to. Level 2, we're lifting them up. We're going to out breath up, but also straighten the leg. And our in breath brings us back and down. So maintain position here. The knee stays high and open while you straighten it. Lovely. Keep going. If you can. Out breath all the way to straight. In breath all the way back down. Still thinking about it being really this glute working here. Obviously more going on when you straighten that leg. But keeping the knee high and the hip open keeps these glutes working. Let's just do one more. And then rest down. Good, we're all done on that side. We'll just simply have a push across to do the same on the other side. Starting with our first set of clam on this side. So don't forget, if you've got osteoporotic hips, that you should keep a cushion between your knees as to make your start position a little bit higher through the top leg. Level 2, if you're working there, ankles up, start here. Pivoting around those heels, they stay together. Even a little pressure between them, helping you get that last bit of movement out at the top. Last squeeze from the glutes. And try and keep your upper body soft and open. Last 2 for this set. And rest everything down. All right, so slight change with a break. We're going to lift the whole top leg up. So use your center, have it engaged as you out-breath the weight of the leg up, and then start bending from the hip, straightening through the knee and sliding back. All from the hip, the low back stays lovely and still. Don't worry too much about your breath. I would say just keep breathing, keep your breath steady, trying to do your breath in through the nose, out through the mouth pattern. It doesn't have to match any particular part of the movement, but just make sure you're not holding it. Or breathing too rapidly or too shallow. That's it, keep going for a couple more. Making this your last. And rest down. Good, all right. So we're ready for our final set on our sides. On this side, reposition if you need to. Check you've not rolled back at all. You're still long through both sides of your waist. As you lift your ankles, you maintain that length. When you're ready, lift and straighten. In breath, down. Let's try and do 3 more. And then rest. Good, well done. We'll come all the way onto our backs, just to finish up on our backs. If you can manage without that head support, just slide it away. Bring your heels close to your bottom, we're doing shoulder bridge. So you want to try and make that gap there nice and small. Keep that pressure down through your heels. Start in neutral. And as we breathe out from that first breath, lift up. And then lower. Right, so you're really getting those glutes working, thinking about your sitting bones drawing towards each other. The effort to lift is coming from here behind the hips. Breathe in to hold, and then lower. Keep the shoulders open, the arms lovely and light on the mat. Okay, so keep working there. If your spine is okay for this, though, you can start doing that articulating version where you tip back into your low back space and peel up from the mat. Working your way up through the spine step by step. And as you replace it back down from the top step by step. Out breath, tip back, peeling all the way up. Good. If you do want to progress, you do want to do some one leg version, then you can do any of the progressions you know, working towards taking it into one leg. Either coming down between sides or doing a few reps there, but keep the pelvis nice and level, keep it elevated, check in each time if it's not dipped or dropped. The last couple of whatever you're doing. And then replace your spine back down. And we'll bring one knee in for a hug. Slide the other one away. Let's just give those hips a last stretch. Good. Switching over. And only if your back is okay to do this, you can bring both knees in for a hug. Well done. Have a rest back down. You're all finished.